So generative AI can be best thought of as a simulation of intelligence. It's not actually intelligent. It's called artificial intelligence, but compare it to human intelligence, it's not that. It's a close approximation that is often good enough. Now, how that works is if you imagine a big bucket full of stuff. So it could be all the text on the internet, it could be lots of YouTube videos, recordings of somebody's voice, a lot of music, lots of pictures, whatever it is. It could be a mixture of all those things. They all sit in a big bucket of data, and then the large language model takes whatever you ask it to do. Maybe, let's say you ask it to create an inspirational poem about looking after mice as pets. And that's something that's quite an unusual request. But what it will do, it will then go through all the data it has to find information about how inspirational poems work, what they tend to sound like, the kind of rhythm they have, the kind of rhyme they have, and information about mice. It would be looking after them as pets, and then blend that together into something that fits the bill. And for many reasons, that can actually be really useful. That can be a great creative tool. And so it's an interesting approximation of intelligence, and particularly at this stage, creativity.
That's an excellent question. I think a lot of people have been trying to wrestle with that. In the last 12 months, it's been generative AI, it's been ChatGPT. But it's not a whole heck of a lot different to the systems we're used to working with within businesses. It tends to do one of four main things, which is it's helping to create a different kind of interface to technology, or it's trying to analyze more data in more depth, at more scale, or it's just trying to do some predictive modeling. It's trying to work out what might come next for advertising or for your use of Spotify or something like that. And then we've got the creative generation piece as well, which is where all the focus is now. So AI is what you want it to be. I mean, it is a pointless, useless term from the point of view of my perspective, which is trying to do some proactive governance around it.
So AI, or artificial intelligence, is a field of computer science where computers or basic machines replicate or imitate human intelligence.
AI to me is such a generic term. You can trace it all the way back to the 50s when it first was announced. And it kind of identifies advanced technology, or technology that we think is capable of thinking or doing something more than just pressing a button and getting a response. So that to me is essentially what I see as AI. Now, there are multiple forms of AI, and it's also not a closed book. It's going to forever grow. We've let the cat out of the bag now. So this term of AI is going to cover more and more topics and more capabilities as time goes on.
It's a great question. What is AI? Well, number one, first thing is that AI isn't just one thing. Everyone believes that artificial intelligence is just this one thing. So we can say, what is AI? There are lots of different versions of AI. So it's a bit like saying, what is computers? Well, there are lots of different versions of computers. AI in reality is computers on steroids. It's machine learning, it's natural language processing, it's lots of these buzz terms that you may or may not have heard, large language models, all these things squished together. In reality though, for human beings, artificial intelligence is an ability for a computer to think more like a human being and therefore do more for us human beings for the future of work.
Originally it started off by an idea from Alan Turing, who was a brilliant UK polymath. And he said that if you could have a conversation with a computer and not be able to tell the difference as a conversation with a human, so behind a screen, then that computer would have intelligence. He didn't coin the term artificial intelligence, somebody else did later on. But that's where the idea came from. And the Turing test stood unmet for years and years, Turing had long died since the Turing test was proved. And somebody now has had conversations with the computer and they can't tell the difference. In fact, some people like the conversations with the computer more. But computers can't yet empathise in the same way that a human can. So artificial intelligence is this ability to mimic a human in some way. But it goes more than just language. So it could be in terms of solving problems. And on that side of things, we've made a lot of progress. Some common mistakes people make about AI is they think that it's robotics, or they think that it's just ChatGPT. But actually, artificial intelligence has got a lot more scope than that.
I'm going to come at this slightly at a different angle, being a psychologist. So AI, for me, is a tool that humans use. The question I'm sure we'll get into is how good are we using the tool, and how good is the tool for us to be able to use it. So it's a sort of a system that we could use potentially to make life easier for ourselves or more difficult, depending on who's using it. But yeah, for me, it's a system, just like telephone, internet, vacuum cleaner. You know, we get used to it. It's new, and that's the other thing I suppose we'll dig into is the whole kind of area about how we deal with change. And technical change is quite a challenge for a lot of human beings. So so for me, it's a tool system that is designed for us to use, but it's got intelligence in it that supposedly is meant to learn, so we don't have to do all the hard work.
AI for me is a term that should never have been popularized beyond science fiction, because it gives everybody the wrong idea. There's no intelligence there. We don't even really understand intelligence. We can't define intelligence. So how do we create artificial intelligence? If I could time travel, I'd go back and get us to use an alternative phrase, something like cognitive computing. So computers that do a lot of the work that used to be done by the human brain, but in an automated and repeatable way. AI immediately brings to mind visions of the Terminator and Skynet and all of these things, none of which are in the scope of our current generations of technology.